way on business or pleasure?
Oh, for work. Well, this whole airlines thing has been a mess, so
Oh, yes, it has.
I'm glad I'm able to get out today. But I'll be back Friday, thank God.
At least you ain't flying Delta. Delta's the one that's still having a lot of issues.
Well, I had end up having to cancel my flight. They had to refund me because they
Delta?
just kept they just kept delaying. I was supposed to leave Sunday, and they kept canceling and delaying flights. So I was like, let me try. I tried American, and so they're supposed to be able to get me off. I don't get out today, I'm just gonna say whatever with it. I'm over it, man.
I don't need to go that bad.
Exactly. I have to call this week a loss and then just pick it up next week.
What do you do for work?
I'm a healthcare surveyor, so we investigate and inspect state veterans homes and community living centers, which are nursing homes that are like a part of the VA.
Okay. But that's interesting.
It is.
You're the popo of assisted living.
I'm the popo of assisted living, pretty much. I mean, a lot of them, they have a lot of regulations to go by. Now, if you're a state veterans home, some of them will be the only ones that do their surveys. But then a lot of them, they're like Medicaid and Medicare funded, so they have to get surveys from CMS. The CLCs have to get surveys from Joint Commission, and then they have to have surveys from us. So they have to be in like basically regulatory requirements with 3 different types of regulations.
Man, that's a lot. Make sure they're in compliance with all the regulations.
And the CFR codes. Now they put that nursing home act together a long time ago, probably before. I think it was before I was born, actually. And so they just keep making, trying to make improvements to it.
The thing is, they clean up house before you guys show up, unless you don't tell them.
No, so they are unannounced visits.
Oh,
yeah, they are unannounced. But yes, there are occasions where they'll say, "Oh, we knew you were coming," and we have a hint that somebody spilled the beans.
Right.
But they gotta be unannounced visits because we can't give them time to prepare for us to come. We got to see,
how the real deal is.
Yeah, we got to see it raw.
As it should be, because they're gonna hide stuff if they can.
Right.
It's all about making a buck.
Right.
Not what's best for the patient or person living there.
And that be the main problem right there. Like a lot of times we'll get complaints, and a lot of it have to do with simple customer service. Every now and then you will run across a complaint where somebody says, well, I felt like somebody abused me or they was rough, and we'll ask staff and they'll say, oh, we don't know anything about it, or if they didn't know anything about it, they didn't report it. And so we'll run across those issues. But for the most part, a lot of it be customer service. A resident, wanted to eat breakfast early and go to bed early, and the staff left him in his wheelchair all day. Stuff like, you can kind of cater to their needs, especially if you just got one person that wants something specific.
Right.
When it comes down to the resident rights, it's their home, so it's really about what they want to do.
Accommodating for them, they're paying you to be there, right?
So like if I say I want to get up at 5 a.m. and I want to go to bed by 4 p.m. but you get me up at 9 and you don't put me in the bed until 10, what I'm saying? Are you really trying to accommodate me? Are you really trying to make make my needs known and abide by them?
What kind of fines are levied against them if they potentially do it?
So with CMS does have a penalty phase. They call them CMPs, which are civil money penalties. They will, like, if you, because the federal government gives you money. So if you cited for something, and it's like kind of like you didn't do this right, but I'm giving you money to do this, so I want it back. So they do have CMPs that they enforce, depending on the level, what's called the scope and severity. So depending on the citation and the level of the citation, the highest CMPs are immediate jeopardies, and then the lowest ones would be stuff that had no actual harm, nothing. You know what I mean? Which they don't even find them at all. They don't even make them do a plan of correction for it. Now with the VA, it's because they give them money. If you one of those problem facilities, then they put you on a 6 months focus list, and basically you're gonna see somebody. You're gonna have a visit every 6 months, and that's just to annoy them. You know, I mean, in a sense, it's for you. It's for us to go out and keep serving at you, because obviously you have a breakdown. But really, it's an annoying part of it. They don't ask for their money back, but they'll send people in your building every 6 months for you to get it together. And a lot of times they just fire all the administrative staff, get new administrative staff in there. Sometimes they have to like stop using certain agencies. I mean, it's just a whole lot. They'll get it together after a while.
Interesting.
There's actually a facility, and it's federal, so it's all 50 states. So there's a facility they're in right now in Oklahoma that's been having 6 month surveys almost for 2 years now. Because I actually went there last year, and they won't get it together, but they don't have any other type of surveys besides VA surveys, because the state of Oklahoma does not have their state employees go in and do their state surveys, because they said they don't need it. And so when you don't have a lot of oversight, that's always a problem too. I hate going to Oklahoma.
Right.
all of those places are bad. Yeah, the whole state's like, nah, basically like we can take care of our own, but they don't.
Yeah.
A lot of those big positions are appointed positions. You know, whoever the governor is appoints somebody in, and they just go really for a paycheck until they retire.
Oh boy. You don't want to help nobody.
No, they don't at all.
What's the most egregious infraction that you've encountered?
So I used to work for the state of South Carolina, and so when I worked for the state of South Carolina, you know, I did the same work. I mean, a state veterans home is nothing but a nursing home, but the state veterans home, we go out, we have our on state veterans home regulations. When I was working in South Carolina, we did everything off of the state of South Carolina regs if we was doing an inspection, and then if you're doing a survey, then you go off of the CMS regulations. And that's the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare. And I was going out, we were doing a complaint. It was an immediate jeopardy at a nursing home in Spartanburg. Good up there. The resident was found. Basically, a resident had got out of the building. They were high risk for elopement. The staff member went outside of a door and was smoking and cut the Wonder Guard bracelet alarm off. And so the resident was able to get out. The police found him on the sidewalk, all bloodied and bruised. He had fell. They transported him to the hospital, and the hospital was calling around to see what nursing home or where this resident came from, because they could tell he wasn't, you know, a really good historian, because he didn't know where he was.
Okay.
Come to find out, the facility staff did not even know that resident had been gone. He had been gone for over 24 hours, but the fact that he got out and was walking on a busy a busy 2-lane highway in Spartanburg, and they had to write all this up in the report, because we see the police report, the report from the hospital, we see the resident having injuries, and I actually wrote that IJ up, and yeah, we had to cite it as an IJ. The administrator wasn't happy because a couple of days prior to this, the administrator had gotten into a really bad car accident on 85, and he was in the hospital. The DON had contracted COVID, so she wasn't in the building, so there really wasn't much oversight. And we know things happen, but if two people, which are the main people that are out of the building, you have to put somebody kind of like in charge, and they were just kind of like, whatever. So, I mean, I had to do what I had to do. The administrator, he comes in and he was like, well, no, because first thing is first. If your resident is missing, now you look at the regs. If they say if your resident is missing for over 24 hours, you got to do all of this. But mainly when somebody's demented and they go missing right then and there, you need to call the police. You need to look for them. You see what I'm saying?
They didn't even know they were gone?
Nope, not until the hospital called and said, hey, we have a guy in here. He says his name is such and such. Does he belong to y'all? And they were like, well, let's go see. Go in this room, and he's not there. A staff member actually went to the hospital to identify him and was like, yeah, he's one of our residents. So
Yeah.
but elopement is usually like the biggest thing that I've written, that I come across. I have written like abuse, staff members being physically or either verbally aggressive, neglect, misappropriation. One time we had a situation where the social worker and the business office manager was having residents just sign their checks and was going to the bank and cashing them and taking the residents' money. So, I mean, it's so much stuff that can go on.
Yeah.
I just, be thankful that with the state veterans homes, I will say they try to uphold themselves a little bit more. So, they tend to be a little bit better, just depending on where you go or where the area is. I mean, they subject to all kinds of things, like any nursing facility. I mean, any healthcare facility, whether it's long-term care or non-long-term care. Because I can also survey places with people with intellectual disabilities. So we call them ICFs. And we also do PRTFs, which are basically ICFs for children, at a certain age. That like you wouldn't see a 3-year-old in a nursing home. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of times these children are born, and if family can't take care of them or a family like gives them away, then they kind of become state property. So those are just state homes that are for children, and you'll see all kind of things going on. It is something. As I sit here, I'm like, you know what, Ron? I think you picked me up a time before.
Have I?
Yep, you have. Because I think you were telling me you were coming up with a podcast.
Yes.
Yep. I said, you know what? This guy looks familiar, but I was like, let me get in the car. And as I'm riding, I'm like, oh, yeah. I've been in here before.
Now that you mentioned that, do I have your permission to put this conversation on there?
That is fine.
On the YouTube.
We talked about it the last time, I remember. So the last time that I saw you, I remember telling you that I wanted to go to Vegas, and you were telling me about different things to do. So I finally ended up going to Vegas for work.
Okay.
I went down, I saw that little spear thing. It was crazy, right? It creeped me out a little bit because it's so surreal.
Yeah.
I didn't actually go in there because I had a ticket to go see the Las Vegas Aces play. And I'm a huge Asia Wilson fan. Okay. So I actually went to the Mandalay Resort. I gambled, ended up winning $1,000.
Oh, nice.
And then I went to the basketball game. Okay. But I told my Lyft driver, I said, can you at least drive me past it? So he, was able to take me past it. And then I drove past it. Yeah. Yeah. So I said, the next time I go, hopefully it'll be for vacation, not for work, because my time kind of limited with work. Yeah. I can actually go and view the whole thing. But you were right, that thing is huge. Yeah, it is huge.
You go inside and there's they have a YouTube concert, and then they have the IMAX video thing going on in there. And we went to see the IMAX video, and it was all about nature and animals and all kind of different scenery. Very impressive, especially on as big as that screen is. That's the biggest IMAX I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's huge. Like, it's huge. Like, when I first rode by and then from the distance, I was like, yeah, I definitely got to get up close to it. So I said the next time I go out there, I'm going to, inquire about how to get tickets and just go ahead and go in there. But it kind of creeped me out a little bit because it had like an eye on the outside of it, like an eyeball, and it was like blinking, and I was like, hell no, like I'm good on that, because this is too real. Like, this is entirely too real.
Like a human eye looking at you.
Yeah, it kind of scared me a little bit.
Yeah, they do put all kinds of crazy stuff on the outside. We were there for Super Bowl.
Oh, okay.
So they had, everything was football, right? Chiefs and 49ers and, all that kind of stuff. Pictures of the players, pictures of the Super Bowl rings,
That's what I said. Another thing, too. When I plan a trip, it's got to be like December, January, or February. When I went, it was the middle of June, and it got up to like 120 degrees. It's very hot and very dry.
Yeah, we ain't about that either.
Yeah, I'm usually like a cold nature person. Like, I'm always getting cold quick. And so being out there was like the first time I probably actually saw myself sweat in years. I was like, oh nah. I mean, it's literally hot.
Yeah. Yeah, I lived in, when I was young, I went to school out in Phoenix. And that's the same kind of heat in Phoenix as it is in Vegas.
Yep.
You get 100 and something in shade and no shade to be found.
Phoenix is very hot. I've definitely been to Phoenix. I like downtown Phoenix. My coworker, she lives in California now, but she raised her kids in Phoenix.
Okay.
And she was like, her son used to whine all the time because when they would go back to school, he would be like, "Can you please take me to school? I don't want to walk to catch the bus because he's so hot. By the time he get out there, he doesn't want to go to school."
Yeah, it's super hot. I remember being in the back seat of my roommate's car. He had another guy in the front seat, and the guy in the front seat rolled the window down, and that wind hit me in the face. It felt like a blow dryer just sitting in an oven. One of the two. It was bad.
I believe it. I definitely believe it. Those are some hot, dry states. So I want to try to avoid Nevada and Arizona in the summer.
Yes, that's a good thing to avoid.
Sometimes it doesn't work that way, depending on our schedule.
Oh yeah.
So because these surveys that I tell you that we go on, they're annual.
Okay.
So they try to at least do it within 12 or 13 months. So you don't want to be in North Dakota in the winter, and you don't want to be in Nevada in the summer.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of like pans out. Like I went to North Dakota the other week, and it was fine.
Right.
Like they even said they were having warmer weather. And then I went to Michigan last week, and I mean it was like down in the 50s at night.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is typical weather for them. Like they don't have much. Like if they have a swimming pool, they maybe got 1 or 2 months to use it. They don't really have much of a summer because it's mainly cold there. And I'm like, yeah, I can imagine. I had Google images of what snowstorms could look like up there. And I mean, there was a guy, he had to be at least 6'1", and the snow was like past his hip area.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
I'm like, well, I'm 5'3", so that would have just covered me, okay?
Okay. I'm not sure if I gave you one of these last time I gave you a ride, but you may want to try that next time you need a ride to the airport, because it could save you money, depending on. Can I ask how much you paid for this ride?
That is a good question. So I did the little wait and save. So I think it was maybe $20, $25.
Yeah. I think from where you're at to here is probably close to $20, so it saved you $5 or so.
That works.
And if you see on the thing, it says the drivers get to keep 100% of the fare, whereas Uber and Lyft, like you paid $20, I only got paid $10 to get to this ride.
Yeah, see, that's not right. Another driver had told me, so my company has this set up, so that's why I go through like Uber or Lyft, because they'll pay for it. However, if there are other means of it, long as it doesn't exceed $100, then I can do it. And I can be able to tip up to like 10%. But I've heard situations where they've just kept the whole tip.
Yeah.
And that's not right.
No. On the back of that card, also, there's instructions on how to get me as a driver.
Perfect.
Well.
That works for me, because
right.
I usually lately I have just been clicking on there, but I like some consistency with my rides, and you always come through.